Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolutely incredible family saga. It's an emotionally charged story about a deceptive inheritance, a hidden safe, and honestly, the ultimate delivery of karmic justice. We're looking at two sisters navigating the heartbreaking aftermath of their father's passing. It's a tale of a will reading that, well, on the surface, seemed terribly unfair. But as you'll see, a seemingly worthless, run-down piece of property turned out to be the ultimate prize. Let's really take our time exploring how grief, greed, and loyalty intertwine in this unbelievable sequence of events. Okay, let's dive right in with a question that perfectly frames our central conflict today. Put yourself in this position. If you were sitting across from a solemn estate lawyer, still grieving your loss, which of these assets would you pick? The instant gratification of $100,000 in pure liquid cash, or a dusty, rundown 65-square-foot shed sitting on a piece of rented farmland? On the surface, it's a total no-brainer, right? I mean, who wouldn't take the cash? But as we're about to see, true value is sometimes hidden behind a very rusty, unassuming door.
Section 1. The Unequal Inheritance.
The contrast at the will reading was stark, and the emotional stakes in that room couldn't have been higher. We have two sisters, Portia and Chelsea. During their father's grueling, painful, year-long illness, Chelsea was the steadfast one. She was the dedicated daughter. She visited regularly, held his hand through endless, exhausting hospital appointments, and truly cared for him in his most vulnerable moments. Portia rarely made an appearance. She constantly complained that a 2-hour drive from the city was simply too inconvenient for her busy lifestyle. Yet, when the lawyer sits them down to read the will, Portia immediately zeroes in on the liquid assets. Completely ignoring the heavy emotional weight of the room, she demands the $100,000 in savings, calculatingly noting that it falls just under the threshold for inheritance tax. Chelsea, the loyal and exhausted daughter, is just left with her father's farming hobby remnants, a tiny shed on rural land they don't even legally own. Fine, I'll take the cash. You can have that dirty shed. That quote right there perfectly captures Portia's unbelievable arrogance. Even though she's married to a supposedly wealthy IT executive, her greed takes absolute center stage. She eagerly, swiftly signs a legal document promising not to complain or contest the inheritance ever again, just to secure that quick, tax-free cash payout. She practically laughs on her way out the door, entirely convinced she just completely outsmarted her grieving sister. Section 2. The Secret in the Shed. When Chelsea finally takes a quiet 10-minute walk down a lonely rural road to check out her meager inheritance, she steps into this dusty, cobweb-filled shed. It's packed with exactly what you'd expect: ordinary, dirty farming tools. Honestly, inheriting 65 square feet of rusty shovels and rakes has to feel incredibly underwhelming. But as she looks around, taking in the quiet space her father loved, something feels off. She realizes the physical dimensions simply don't make sense. The inside feels noticeably shallower than the outside. Walking around to the back of the shed, pushing through a thicket of overgrown trees, she uncovers a hidden back door. Knowing her father absolutely loved puzzles and surprises, she searches the shed and brilliantly finds 2 keys hidden inside the hollowed-out handle of a rusty shovel. Unlocking that secret heavy back door reveals a tiny 3-foot-wide hidden room. And sitting squarely in the middle of it is her dad's old heavy-duty company safe. Section 3. A high-value discovery. When Chelsea uses the second key, turns the heavy dial, and finally gets that rusty safe open, she is absolutely stunned. She doesn't find stacks of cash. She doesn't find old stock certificates. Instead, she finds her father's lifelong, fiercely protected passion. The safe is packed to the brim with an incredible, meticulously maintained collection of high-end luxury watches. Gleaming gold, intricate mechanical gears, vintage leather straps carefully arranged on velvet displays. Her father had quietly and methodically invested the bulk of his life's wealth into the spectacular, hidden collection. And real quick, if you love deep dives into crazy, satisfying stories like this, please make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. So the absolutely crucial point here is the massive valuation. Chelsea realizes very quickly she's in way over her head, so she hires a certified public accountant and a specialist to properly appraise the collection. She learns, to her absolute shock, that these watches are worth a staggering minimum of $500,000. Think about the incredible irony of that. Suddenly, that dirty shed Portia so quickly laughed at and dismissed is worth 5 times the quick cash she arrogantly walked away with. But As anyone who has dealt with sudden wealth knows, the government always takes its cut. We immediately run into a significant financial hurdle here: inheritance tax. Because these physical assets are so incredibly valuable, Chelsea now owes the government a substantial chunk of money before she can fully secure or enjoy this newly found wealth. It's a classic catch-22. She has to figure out how to pay a massive tax bill without having the actual liquid cash on hand to do it. And this beautifully illustrates Chelsea's smart, grounded financial play. Instead of panicking or making rash decisions, she takes a highly pragmatic and generous approach. She carefully selects and sells a portion of the watches to cover the hefty inheritance tax entirely, completely clearing her debt to the government. Then, she sells a few more pieces to fund generous $500 gift cards specifically to thank the supportive aunts and uncles who actually showed up and helped out during her father's long illness. Finally, and most importantly, she keeps the items that truly matter to her heart, like her dad's sentimental, everyday pocket watch, safely preserving his memory.
Section 4. The Sister Returns.
Living her busy life in the city, Portia happens to bump into their aunt one afternoon. During their seemingly innocent chat, the aunt casually mentions how incredibly grateful she is for the generous $500 thank you gift card Chelsea recently sent her. Now, Portia's mind starts racing. She knows for a fact Chelsea didn't inherit any cash, only that worthless shed. The very generosity Chelsea showed immediately tips off her greedy sister. Portia realizes right then and there that Chelsea must have found something of immense hidden value.
You got a windfall, didn't you? Just admit it. This burning jealousy leads an infuriated and deeply suspicious Portia to drive all the way out from the city to Chelsea's house just to aggressively interrogate her. She demands to know where this sudden money came from. Chelsea, having absolutely nothing to hide and keeping her conscience completely clear, honestly explains the secret false room in the shed, the hidden safe, and the incredible $500,000 watch collection. But then, Chelsea drops a crucial detail. She mentions that because this safe was entirely too big and heavy for her own modest home, she temporarily moved it for safekeeping to their mother's house. That right there, that is the smoking gun of our story.
Section 5. Karma strikes the greedy. The escalation from here is shockingly fast and incredibly dangerous. Late at night, at exactly 9 p.m., their elderly mother goes to bed. By 9:30, she wakes up in absolute terror, hearing someone actively rummaging around in the dark house. Thinking it's a dangerous, violent burglar, she bravely climbs out a first-floor window and sprints across the lawn to a neighbor, who immediately calls the police. But it wasn't a random burglar at all. It was Portia. She had broken into her own mother's house in the dead of night to rob her sister's safe. When the police arrive moments later, their red and blue lights flashing through the windows, Portia panics. She tries to sprint out of the room, but in her frantic rush, she violently bumps into the heavy open door of the safe, knocking the massive steel box directly onto her own leg, pinning her completely to the floor. The police enter with flashlights drawn, only to find Portia trapped and crying out in pain. The aftermath of this night is absolutely devastating. As the truth unravels, it turns out Portia had a massive, secret shopping addiction. She had already blown her entire $100,000 cash inheritance, paying off hidden credit card debt from buying designer clothes and bags. She was completely broke and desperate, which is exactly why she tried to steal her sister's watches. Now, with a severely fractured leg, she is lying in a sterile hospital bed when her furious husband walks into the room. Having just been informed by the police of her massive hidden debts and her criminal, unforgivable attempt to rob her own elderly mother, he coldly hands her divorce papers right there in the hospital room.
Section 6. A happy ending. The final outcome of their dramatically different choices couldn't be more profound. Portia is left entirely alone, divorced, drowning in remaining debt, physically injured from her own greed, and forced to flip through magazines looking for minimum wage part-time work just to survive. Chelsea, conversely, is in a beautiful place. She is wealthy, totally financially secure, and has lovingly moved back into the family home to help take care of her mother after the terrifying break-in. And best of all, Chelsea recently discovered she is pregnant, finally and joyfully fulfilling a beautiful promise she made to her father on her wedding day.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. We just saw how a supposedly worthless shed held a spectacular fortune, while a massive stack of cash just evaporated into thin air through greed and deceit. True value isn't always obvious on the surface, is it?
whether it's an old, dusty shed, a quiet relationship, or an unassuming opportunity. So, what hidden value are you currently overlooking in your own life? Thank you so much for joining me for this incredible story. Keep looking for those hidden doors, and please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next explainer.